Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Mike. Hope you're doing great and having a wonderful day. So on this Tag Tuesday, I'm going to do a tag that I've actually been tagged in twice, so I might as well get it done and over with. But the name of this tag is called the Reading Shifts tag. It was originally created by Hannah over at Hannah's Books, and I'll link her in the description. And then I was tagged for the second time by Joshua over at Joshua Crebo. And I'll put both of their channels in the description. So this is a tag, and if you see me looking over, it's because I have my laptop here so I can read the questions. This has got 7 questions, and I meant to do this tag when Hannah first unofficially tagged me. I seen it on her channel, and I'm not sure, I can't remember if she tagged people originally or if it was just kind of a broad put out, like if you've seen it, you're tagged type thing, but I really like these questions. They kind of make you think a little bit. So, first question is, how has your reading developed over your lifetime? Do the kinds of books that bring you the most pleasure now differ from the books you loved most earlier in your life? If you've seen big changes in your reading since you've matured, what might explain your changing interest? So the first question, how has your reading developed over your lifetime? I never read as a kid or even as a teenager or, technically a young adult, I guess. I read as about 19 or 20 is when I started to read. But I wasn't a big reader. I just kind of read, here and there. I really didn't get into, what you would call a serious reader. Like past 10 years maybe. I'm 37 now, so 25, 26, I really dove into that world of reading. So how is it developed? I'd say probably like most people, when you first get into reading, you just do a deep dive and try to find all the best books out there. There's so many top 100, top 50, top 10 lists and all these lists, and you go through there and you get recommendations and you find the ones that you think you would be interested in, and then TBR list gets just overwhelmingly crazy, and it just gets out of control. That's how it was for me in the beginning. So then you kind of get burned out, or I did, and then you just start to focus and narrow and be more selective on what you want to read and what books you want to read. So the second part of that is, do the kinds of books that bring you the most pleasure now differ from the books earlier in your life? Again, I didn't read as a kid, but earlier in my early 20s, I got into reading through thrillers, that genre. So I just kind of stuck to those because I didn't know anything about reading or genres back then. I just knew I liked them, and that's all I really read was genres, and so I still like those. So no, they still bring me joy. Actually, I'm reading a thriller right now. But it says, if you've seen big changes in your reading since you've matured, what might explain your changing interest? Maturing, getting older, realizing what you like and don't like, realizing how little time, we actually have. You're probably never going to read all the books you want to in your lifetime. I don't like doing it because it's depressing, but if you sit down and if you make a list of all the books you want to read, and it's simple math, and you calculate of how long each book roughly is going to take you to read, times that, how many you can read in a month, in a year, etc., etc. It's not a huge pile. I don't like to think that way because, I just like to fly by what I want to read, my mood, and I just go like that. I know I'll probably never read every book I have, and I don't know, but, So, number 2, do you find yourself choosing different kinds of books at different periods of the year? For example, do the seasons affect what you read for pleasure? Might you read very different kinds of books while on vacation? So, I don't read by the seasons. I know there's a lot of popularity on BookTube with seasonal reading. And, you know, like actually this year I'm trying the whole Christmas theme thing. So that will be the first time I've ever done that. But no, I don't have any seasonal reading like that. I read what I want when I want. It doesn't matter what time of year. So do the seasons affect what you read for pleasure? No, not necessarily. And then might I read different books on vacation? No. I mean, when I go on vacation, I will take, usually it's 7 to 10 days. If it's an official vacation, I'll take 1, maybe 2 books, knowing I probably won't even read all of that because I'm just enjoying vacation, you know, enjoying family time and things like that. And we're out doing stuff. So again, I'd only really be reading in the evenings when we're, you know, in the room. So number 3, do specific experiences in your life ever shape what you choose to read? For example, did you read obsessively about child rearing when your kids were little, about gardening as spring is about to begin, about the experience of grief when someone you loved died, etc.? Yes, a little bit. So specific experiences in my life have shaped what I read a little, because the things I've been through in my life, I know what I would prefer to avoid in reading in certain books for my own personal reasons. So yeah, I would say certain experiences have shaped what I choose to read. I don't really ever pick anything like, so this is like, did you read obsessively about certain things? Not necessarily. Like, so then the last one, it says about the experience of grief when someone you love dies, or etc. Not necessarily, no. Number 4, have there been any times in your life when circumstances have limited or changed your reading in some way? Perhaps caretaking responsibilities, or a big move that made it hard to find as much time to read as you'd liked, or personal illness that made it harder to concentrate, or maybe just long-term travel that might have limited your book choices. Yes, for sure. About nine years ago, I had some health issues, pretty major health issues. So those affected what I read or didn't read for quite a while. Let me read through this real quick. But like traveling, yeah, I mean, it slows down when I'm traveling because I'm enjoying life. You know, we're doing what we're doing, and I'll always have books somewhere, you know, in my bag or whatever. But yeah, that slows it down. And then the last, on number 4, it's how do you deal with those circumstances? I'm kind of one of those. I'm going to focus on today. I'm going to enjoy today. I just live in the moment a lot of times, you know, so I don't really dwell on, you know, what I can't read or how many books maybe I have that are unread or this or that. It doesn't matter to me. Number 5, BookTube is full of discussions of reading slumps, when dedicated readers seem to lose interest for a while in books. Sometimes they just can't find a book that appeals to them. Have you ever experienced a slump? If so, how did you handle it? If not, do you have any advice to give people who are experiencing slumps? Yes, I have experienced that more than a dozen times in my reading life. For me, it's more of a mood thing probably. You know, life happens, stress, you get busy, you're working, you're going to school, whatever. A lot of times with that, I will try to read something easier than when I'm reading. And for me, my backup plan is always poetry. It's short, you know, it's not a lot of dedication. I can just read it and mull it over in my mind and think about it and things like that. And it usually doesn't last a day or two. I've never had a reading slump that I can remember that was long term, that lasted a long time. So that's kind of how I handle it and how I would give advice to people. If you experience it, just give yourself time to just take a break. Don't put so much pressure on yourself of, I've got to read X, Y, and Z, or I've got to read this many. For me personally, I do not work well with super strict structure on my reading. Because if I make a plan, like I'm going to read 5 books a month, and then I'm overthinking it because now I got to figure out, okay, well, I'm going to read 5 books a month. How many days is it going to take me to read each book? How many hours is it going to take me to read each book? I don't do that because it stresses me out. Now, I always make for the year, I want to read X amount for the year. But other than that, or more than that, no, I don't go into it. So give yourself some time to just relax, Don't put so much pressure on it. Just chill out a little bit. Don't make it so structured. Just make it loose and have fun with it. All right, number 6. Booktubers also talk about book hangovers. When readers are so moved by a book that they find it difficult to move on to a new book. Have you ever felt this way? Yes and yes. Yes, I have. So for me, it's not so much I'm hung up on the book necessarily, but it's like, I don't know, I just need some time in between books. Just let the story settle, let the dust settle, think about some other stuff. I don't necessarily like I finish a book today and then grab another book and open it and just start it. I don't like doing that. I like to just have some time in between the two, let it all resonate and settle, and let that, I don't know how to explain it. Let that story in my mind just play out in the background, and then maybe later in the evening or the next day, pick up a new book. So, number 7, tell us about a few books that almost always work for you. Something that might have remained a favorite throughout your life despite any changing reading tastes. Something that always seems to hit just the right spot when you need a lift. Or perhaps some lifetime book hangover where the text will always be in the back of your mind. I've got a few books like that I don't have them with me, but that are always going to be in the back of my mind, I think about, sure. But like I said on one of the previous ones, a book that's like always works for me. This is one. This is poetry. One of my favorite poets. I'm just using this really as a prop though, because for me, like I said, what always works for me is poetry. Because there's so much poetry out there. You can just, for me, the best way to do it is, it's called topical study. You pick a topic, whatever that is, happiness, joy, hope, loneliness, despair, whatever that is, and you find poems. And luckily with the internet, all you gotta do is get online and look it up. Poems about this, whatever this is, and just read them. They're short a lot of times. For me, I gravitate towards short poems. I don't necessarily like super long poems where they're 2 pages long. I like pretty short, not like 3 or 4 lines, sure, but medium size, 10 lines, or I don't know, but just whatever fits you, do that. That's what I do for me. So it just seems to work. Like I said, if I get to a point where I'm just like, okay, I need a break, or I'm trying to do too much or something, I'll just set my book down that I'm reading, let it sit for however long. I don't even put a time limit. If I don't pick it up for a day or a week, whatever, it's not a big deal. It'll always be there. I'll just grab a poetry book off my shelf, or I'll just get online and look up some poems, or, however you want to do it. So the last question is easy. Tag people. So I'm going to put a list of people in the description and tag some people. I don't know who's done it and who hasn't. So if I tag you and you already have done this, obviously don't feel obligated to redo it. It's okay. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.